Okay, so Tyler Perry has a new movie out, and yeah. So here's the thing. I'm not actually gonna talk about his new movie because I didn't watch it. Um, I'm Tyler Perry. I'm not a fan, but there are a couple of his movies that I actually enjoy, and I probably need to tell you which ones they are. I enjoy The Family That Prays. Uh, you know, it's it's a soap opera, but it's actually pretty good, and it's not too outlandish. It doesn't go off into the stupid, right? Which a lot of Tyler Perry movies do, which is one of the biggest issues with them is they tend to go off into the stupid. Like you can be outlandish, but there needs to be a level of like plausibility and logic somewhere, you know. Um, so that film, The Family That Prays, is one that I feel like was decent. Was decent film. I give him credit for that film. And then I also enjoyed. He did a Christmas movie with what's the girl's name from I forget everything of her name. The pretty dark skinned girl um, who did his series. Tika Sumpter. That movie. I thought that was pretty good, pretty measured film, right? For him, for it to be a Tyler Perry film. And then let me see what else in his catalog. Um, I can't think anything else right now. But so yeah, I did watch his last movie, the one with Trevante Rhodes and Kelly Rowland. I did watch that one. It was as bad as everybody said it was, of course. And I hear the new one is pretty much the same. And but so I don't need to see another Tyler Perry film. I do think he is somebody that once you've seen one film, you've pretty much seen them all. He's not going to yeah. Anyway, so I've actually been pretty critical of Tyler Perry. I've lived in Atlanta. I've worked out of Atlanta. I'm super familiar with the Atlanta acting, entertainment industry, the TV and film industry there. Um, and I know what kind of talent he has access to. I actually lived just like less than 2 minutes from his studio, actually. Um, and when I did live in Atlanta a few years ago. Um, but anyway, this video is actually about, or this conversation is about actually the black audience. Okay. So what I'm curious about is the black audience drawn to mediocrity? That's the question. Um, I know my answer, and I know a lot of people's answers out there. Okay, um, but it's something that I think about a lot. Being an artist, producing content, I've definitely had my share of projects that were weekly written, weekly acted, um, and so I know what it's like to create both types. Okay, and to my credit, I consider myself to be a hell of a writer. Um, when I'm writing by myself, it's the times that I've chosen to maybe like give, maybe if I'm collaborating with a co-writer, giving them a certain amount of uh, influence in the script, that's when I feel like I'm there's been times, I'll say, that I allowed it to happen, even though I knew, I hold myself to like a different standard in terms of quality of script writing. I did go to college for English creative writing and political science, so I am very skilled in writing and screenwriting and all that. I've been writing scripts for 20 years. I've had my scripts written or read by a lot of, celebrities, people you would know. And I do know that I have work that I consider to be very, very, very well done. And then there's work that I feel like I didn't, where I wrote, kind of like to the middle of my standard, and sometimes, even further down to appeal to whatever the purpose of, me doing that project was. Because that happens too. Sometimes you do write down, for certain reasons, certain business opportunities, and then there's times where you get to write to your maximum. I prefer to write to my maximum, but as a screenwriter, there are times where you kind of have to write downward. So anyway, so it's something, I say all that to say that it's something that I think about a lot. And when it comes to somebody like Tyler Perry, though, one has to wonder, like, what does he consider to be his best work, his best writing? Like they all are kind of the same, so it's kind of hard to tell, like, what does he consider to be the best writing, why, the big conversation about him is, why doesn't he improve? Why can't he improve? Why doesn't he improve? Can he improve? Is it that he can't, doesn't know how, or is it that he won't? When I first got set up in Atlanta, when I first got really going in Atlanta, working, filming, producing my own projects, I did get an opportunity to have a meeting, have a coffee meeting with a writer who was actually one of Tyler Perry's former writers. This is around 2014, and I actually forgot that I had this meeting and what I thought about it until I was reviewing some old notes and messages from those years, and I came across it, and I was like, oh, I forgot about that. But basically, I met one of his writers years ago, and just as the kind of like on some mentor shit, just like let me pick your brain, let me learn from you a little bit. He was already kind of like established in the industry as a writer, and I was still trying to sell a TV script at that time. And anyway, without saying his name, he told me, one of the things that I forgot that he told me was that he was one of the writers that was a part of the group of writers that sued Tyler Perry. There's a whole lawsuit. It's online. You can Google it, about Tyler Perry not wanting his writers at the time to unionize, and some other issues they have. So he was a part of that group. But basically, what he told me, one of the things he told me amongst many things was, as far as Tyler Perry, one of the things that Tyler Perry does is, even though he kind of touts that he writes all of his scripts, and he'll post on Twitter like how much, how fast he writes and how the volume that he writes. But I had forgotten that this writer told me 10 years ago that Tyler Perry actually seeks out amateur writers and pays them for their scripts, and he basically pays them, I don't know how much money, I was told not a lot of money, and he puts his name on them, and that's the work that we end up seeing. So one of his writers that used to work for him told me that, which, again, sheds a light on kind of what his thing is. I know that when I work with writers, I do bring on writers to collab with at times with some of my products. It's something that I enjoy doing, and I do work with writers of different like calibers. I guess that kind of comes from my me pursuing my degree in writing at Florida State University, and where one of my favorite types of classes in my major was the workshop style classes, where you're kind of writing with your classmates in a sense. You're writing with their support, with their notes, with their guidance, and so I just like that, and so I try to have a little bit of that sometimes when I put together my own writing rooms. I'm in the middle of a writing room right now, writing one of my new series, but it's a process that I like. But then there's certain projects that I know I'm writing all of this myself. One of my projects is called Talking with the Taxman About Poetry. It's my first and only feature film that I've fully produced, and wrote it completely by myself, and it's one of my best pieces of work ever. I like collaborating at times, but when I do, my point is that when I do, I like to do it because it helps bring each other up. So it's a situation where it's a group where, maybe if you're weak in a certain area and another writer that you're writing with is stronger, it kind of helps you kind of bring up your weaknesses as well. And you're doing the same for somebody else's weaknesses. Your strengths end up helping other people's weaknesses. So I kind of like that. Like, you can really learn a lot in that format, in a writing group like that, or collaborating together. And so that's what I try to make happen in my writers group, so that when people leave my writers group, they're better writers for being a part of that writers group. And so with Tyler Perry, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know what his deal is as far as, everybody always says Tyler Perry needs writers. I actually don't say that, because there's a bunch of really strong writers that write perfectly well on their own. Now they're trained. They've trained to be able to do that. But I don't say Tyler Perry needs writers. I say Tyler Perry needs writing classes. If he has the money, like, just take a semester of writing class, even just one semester of writing classes. It would be great if you took a whole curriculum and really learned how to be a strong, compelling writer. But I don't think he wants to be that. I think Tyler Perry, more than anything, I think he's a capitalist. I don't think he seems to care about much more than that. I think it's money over everything. And to me, everybody should know that the easiest way to make money is you cater to the lowest, the easiest denominators, So Tyler Perry's work tends to appeal mostly to just people with, I won't say that they're ignorant people. I'll say they have more ignorant sensibilities in terms of things that they consume. They're not things that are that compelling or thoughtful or high thinking. And so he caters to that type of person, that type of viewer. And there's more of that kind of viewer, there's more of that kind of person in the world than there is, higher thinkers and, really cerebral people. So it's very easy to make money. If you can find something that can make money off of an audience like that, you're going to do very well, because there's going to be more of them than there are of some of the other types, that are a little bit too smart or too intelligent to stimulate, and so it is a thing where I often find myself thinking why are we as Black people we definitely are the kind of people that we like to be entertained, I think, more than anything. And I think that in a lot of ways, that's where a lot of our talent comes through, is our ability to entertain and the way we respond to entertainment. But a lot of times I wish that we had there were other things that we took to just as much, like being inspired, being being empowered, you know what I mean, learning. I wish that we took to those things. I wish we found those things as exciting as we found entertainment, because I think we'd be a very different people if so. And ultimately, I do think we, in speaking generally, we tend to be drawn more to the entertainment factor of things. We tend to be able to make entertainment out of a lot of things that we see, even things that are serious, you know, things that are not funny. We can kind of find the funny in a lot of it. I know that comes from a lot of the trauma that that we come from, so I know why that is. With people like Tyler Perry, I tend to look at the reason why I'm highly critical of people like that is just because I feel like they have the resources to do better, you know. I feel like, you know, too much is given, much is expected. And even though it's, you know, you shouldn't have expectations of other people, of course, but I do think that it's kind of part of the problem with capitalism. That, you know, some people make it to the top of that system and they just feel like, who cares what the people in the underclasses are being served, you know? And I hate that. There's a lot of even though people do say that that Tyler Perry does inspire them and all that, I think that's great for those people. I tend to have more belief in even the underclass people, even like the ignorant people, than they may have for themselves. And so that's why I'm like, you know, I'm glad you feel like you can get something from that, but there's a way that you can get even more, you know. And I'm the kind of person who's trying to deliver the more, because I just believe that most people can think and they can handle things that are at a higher level of intelligence than most of the world gives them credit for, especially through media, you know. And I've determined that my contribution with my talents and my craft is that I want to be the kind of artist that I want to make cerebral things. I don't want to make just the base level stuff, you know. I was developed as a writer reading, you know, Ernest Hemingway and Zora Neale Hurston and James Baldwin, who's my ultimate favorite. You know, Richard Wright, Mark Twain, Geoffrey Chaucer, Fyodor Dostoevsky, who's another favorite of mine, Sonia Sanchez, you know, Allen Ginsberg, Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. But that's who I was. That's what I was raised on. That's what I was developed on as a writer. And so my standard of writing is really high. And when I'm writing the stuff that I am putting myself in full control of, I'm trying to get up there. You know, I want to be up where the greats are. I don't want to be down here in the cellar when I know I'm better than that, you know. And I wish that when it came to things like intelligence and education and just even, you know, levels of consciousness, I wish that Black people really, you know, I think we used to. I think like coming out of slavery and trying to develop, you know, something else I'm going to be talking about in another video is the concept of group economics. And I think that coming out of slavery, I think that we as a people, like, we're practicing that until we were kind of like stifled, you know, of course, by, you know, white supremacy in this country. But for some decades, we were on that, and we did believe in things like education more. We believed in things like just acquiring more all around, like mentally, spiritually, educationally, And then I think that over the 1900s, the mid 1900s, down to the late 1900s, going into the 2000s, I just think that I think Black people got discouraged and just kind of started meeting the world where they saw us and where they wanted us to be, and we just kind of stopped fighting. We stopped fighting. We stopped fighting that, and I think that's what happened. But I think there's a lot of people out there trying to, stir the consciousness back up again, and I hope that we get to the point where that's like the standard for everybody, where Tyler Perry can make something and we have such a level of consciousness where we say, you know what, that's not good enough. That's not going to be enough to serve us. That meal doesn't satisfy us anymore. You've got to come a little bit better. And I hope that we can get to the place where that happens. Stop letting ourselves be insulted. Our intellect be insulted, our level of consciousness, be insulted by what people are serving us, because 9 times out of 10, these people are really just trying to make money off of us. They don't really care what they're serving us. They may get in interviews and say they have some compelling reason that they're offering their art to us and their media to us, but ultimately they if they really cared about us and they really wanted to empower us and inspire us, they would try harder. And I wish that we as a Black audience, a Black demographic, would start demanding a higher standard for ourselves. I really do. And me as a writer, as a filmmaker, as an artist, I'm always going to, I kind of made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to go backwards. I wasn't going to do projects anymore that I was compromising my talent, the level of my talent anymore, just to try to get through a door that I'm trying to get through in my career. I'm going to keep the standard high. And this second half of my career is like a promise that I made to myself to do that. And I hope that others stop letting themselves be fed, by mediocrity and being satisfied with that, because mediocrity offends me. You can't come. I return to sender when it comes to mediocrity. You can't get my attention from that. I reject it, and I wish more of us would do that, because we deserve to be fed what we need. All right, not just what somebody else wants to serve us, So, mediocrity, what do y'all think? Artist Temple.